2024 is almost here, and once it's officially here, yeah, it'll be 7 years since Super Mario Odyssey, the last original 3D Mario game. And of course, we're all getting ready and expecting a big Mario game very soon, and with the rumors saying that the next Mario game is going to be open world and launching on the new console later next year, it's time to get really excited for the thing and start predicting it, because odds are the announcement is very, very soon. I mean, as soon as January or February's Nintendo Direct. But before we even get into that next game, I want to talk about how Nintendo can improve on the formula that they have already. And right now, I want to use Mario Odyssey as our example, as it's an absolutely amazing 3D Mario game, but it still definitely has flaws that can be fixed to make it even better. So I want to talk about how you could fix what they did in Odyssey and make sure that this open world Mario is everything that we could hope for. Real quick, if you're excited for this 3D Mario and also excited for Christmas in just a couple of days, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Let me know by subscribing right now. Let's see how many people we can get to sub from this one video, but let's jump into the video. One of the biggest problems for a lot of people with Mario Odyssey boils down to the fact that it's so easy to get moons in that game. And moons are the main currency, they're the main collectible, the main thing to get from every single kingdom in order to move on to the next one. The same way in Super Mario 64 it's stars and Super Mario Sunshine shine sprites, where normally it takes a little bit more effort to get one of these things, where in 64 you had to go through an entire mission, and the same thing goes for Super Mario Sunshine, with a couple that were easy to get, but for the most part you had to enter a world and then enter a specific mission and complete that mission in order to get that shine sprite or star. Where in Super Mario Odyssey, a lot of the time you just ground pound a glowing spot, or you just give somebody some money, or you just walk over and oh, here's a moon. A very easy solution to this is just don't make every single collectible a power star or power moon or whatever you decide to go with the next Mario game. Just simply make them fun hidden collectibles that you can find and that you have to collect from each world. That way the completionist and a lot of people can just go around and find ways to collect them. And you know, if you run up on one, oh, here's one of the things I can collect. Just like the purple coins from Super Mario Odyssey. It's just an optional thing to collect, and yes, you can max out your counter for each world with those things. So yeah, just make them collectibles instead of the main objective. Kirby games do this very well by having things around the background or foreground that are just extra collectibles that you can grab. They're not really tied to the main quest as much. I know the Forgotten Land does have caged Waddle Dees that you can collect to help you progress further, but yeah, there's so many times there's just things off in the background that you can go collect and find that actually add up to a collection of yours. Now granted, I know we've had things like the purple coins in Odyssey and the blue coins in Super Mario Sunshine, those dreaded blue coins, but at the end of the day, it's not really a whole lot of things to collect or anything that's really interesting, and everything else that you collect in Super Mario Odyssey can just be bought from the shop, so it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything to find these things. If you are going to have a lot of these collectibles, especially if they're going in the open world route, which probably is going to still feel similar to Super Mario Odyssey, they could go the route that they did in Bowser's Fury, where it didn't feel like they were just absolutely everywhere. You weren't ground pounding the ground to find a random cat shine. There were actually little individual missions where you had to go around each of the islands and find these things, and they weren't just right in front of you. You actually had to do a little bit of work for each and every single one. I say this over and over again, I know, but I truly do think Bowser's Fury was just a path for Nintendo to take in order to move on to the next 3D Mario game. They were testing the waters with a little free updated mode that came along with the Mario 3D World, and this was the best way to do it. So I do think kind of the open-endedness of collecting things is going to stay from Super Mario Odyssey, and it's not really going to probably be as mission-based as we would hope from 64 or Sunshine, but I think that's okay if they take the way that they did with Bowser's Fury, making it actually have to be worked for in order to find these shines. Next thing I want to talk about is boss battles, because as I think Super Mario Odyssey's boss battles are really good, in fact, I think they're some of the better ones that we've seen, I still think they could definitely improve in some areas. There was too many bosses where I just felt, man, this is awesome, but they just didn't reach their potential. Torque Drift had the potential to be one of the coolest bosses we've ever seen in a Mario game. I mean, this giant alien UFO that was here to suck up these flowers, and it makes all these sounds, and the intro is so epic, and then this is the boss battle. Same thing with Mollusk Lancier, where you're just kind of chasing him around the ocean and spraying him with water, which could have been a lot better. Another one, the Lord of Lightning, a boss battle that we never thought we'd see something like this in a Mario game, and yet we just fight his head the entire time. Mario Odyssey just really had some grand spectacle type boss battles, and I feel like they just didn't capitalize on all of them. Like I said, there were also some really good boss battles, like the one against Knuckle-Tech, where you had to take one of his fists and just punch him in the face with it. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness, the Mecha Brutal, or Robo Brood, whatever you call it, was absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I was just talking with my friend about it the other day and saying that it's honestly one of the best Mario boss battles ever. Like, it is so well designed. You get to use one of the best copy abilities ever, being the Pokio, and taking down his legs by chucking bombs right back at it, and then using Pokio to scale the side of this giant mech in order to break one of the glass shields of one of the Brutals. I mean, it is just so well put together. This is what I want to see out of a boss battle in a Mario game. Like, I know we're going to have our lesser battles like the Koopalings and the Brutals, for instance, where you just kind of hit them 3 times or jump on their head 3 times. We're going to have stuff like that, like Boom Boom and Pom Pom, but hopefully if we do, they're just considered mini bosses. And that's exactly how they're handled in Super Mario Odyssey, which is just a good thing. I also would love to see a final boss more grand in spectacle. Now, of course, turning into Bowser and escaping the moon is phenomenal. There's no complaints there, but the actual boss battle was just a repeat of the same exact boss battle that we had halfway through the game at the Cloud Kingdom, which is just like, okay, I was kind of hoping for something different, something new. Let's not repeat boss battles, I feel like. I think that kind of limits the excitement level and stuff, and as soon as I saw that it was going to be the same exact boss battle, which definitely did have some difficulty, it still was just less exciting knowing exactly what Bowser was about to do and what I had to do. Take his hat, run up to him, and start punching him. Once again, it's a great boss battle design, but doing it twice with the second time being the final boss, and that's the last time we fight Bowser of the game, was just kind of lame to me. I will forever die on this hill. The ending of Mario Galaxy 1 is just the peak final boss, man. I mean, seriously, there were so many different phases and so many times you had to hit Bowser, and it just kept getting harder and harder, and the music was just so intense. That is how you end a game. I want to see something more along the lines of that, something that's grand and a big final conclusion to the game. Once again, I'll bring him up again, Kirby. I love me some Kirby, I'm sorry. I think it's a great example of how boss battles work, because Kirby games, their final bosses are spectacular. They have so many different phases and so many different elements to them. For instance, when you fight Leongar in the Forgotten Land, there's 2 different phases that you have to defeat first. Then you have to defeat a giant blob mess called Fecto Forgo as you run down a hallway away from the thing. Then there's 2 phases for Fecto Elphalus, the true final boss of the game. And then they finally end with a lead-up scene before you finish the boss off, like you driving a semi, and very similar to Mario Odyssey's Mario transforming into Bowser and escaping the moon. Now, I will say a big part of this is probably due to the fact that there's health bars in Kirby in the Forgotten Land, where you're just kind of wailing on an enemy until that health bar is depleted. So there's reasons to have many different phases, where it's not a complex situation where you have to hit the boss 3 times in a very specific way. And speaking of health bars, guess who has a health bar for one of the first times ever in a Mario game? Yep, Theory Bowser, which is something that I feel like a lot of people also kind of slept on. There could be a chance we could see actual bigger and better boss battles that actually have health bars instead of just jumping on their head 3 times, which would greatly improve how the boss works for sure, because look how fun and dynamic battling Bowser was over and over again. Now, of course, eventually it did get a little tiring because it was just Bowser over and over again, but you can see what might actually come with more unique bosses. Once again, if this game is by any chance kind of a test of the waters to see how this would work in a bigger and grander open world game. The next thing I want to bring up is post-game. Mario games hardly ever have post-game. It's normally just, hey, you beat the game, congrats, you're done. Mario 64 didn't have anything, Mario Sunshine didn't really have anything, and Super Mario Galaxy also didn't really have anything besides, oh, you can now play as Luigi. So what are we going to get within the next Mario game? Well, let's keep going forward, because Mario 3D World actually did introduce like 3 extra worlds, which was actually pretty good, but nothing to really go back and do with all the past levels. Just, hey, you need to go back and complete each level with all the characters. It also gave you Rosalina at the end, which was a new playable character to go through all the levels and play as. So that was pretty neat for sure, and this is probably like the greatest thing that we've gotten, believe it or not, from a 3D or even 2D Mario game extra post-game. But even with that said, lots of the bonus levels and bonus worlds were just filled with levels that you've already played, and they just look slightly different. For instance, the time of day would be changed from a sunset to just middle of the day, and like, yeah, that's about it. They'll throw some more enemies down and kind of change the objective, but overall, it'd be the same levels that we've already seen, so it wasn't anything too crazy. And that leads me to Super Mario Odyssey, which said, here's the Mushroom Kingdom at the end, which was super cool, but there wasn't much about it. It was kind of trying to be a reminiscent of Super Mario 64, and there was even like a specific room and an outfit to kind of go back to that, but I kind of wish there were more, like a special world, like you could go into the castle and explore it the very same way as Mario 64 at least, or maybe even just one painting that would take us to Bob-omb Battlefield or something and give us some missions and some stuff there, like one extra kingdom to actually do stuff in, and like a Bob-omb, you know, King Bob-omb boss battle. Oh my goodness, that would have been so cool. But no, that never did happen. Instead, it was full of just tons of boss rematches, which was cool, but I don't know, I wanted some new things. And yes, I know a lot of people were upset just to see the dark and darker sides of the moon, which just was, once again, more boss battles against the Brutals, but thankfully also was a really cool challenge level, which I did enjoy. But I think it would be really cool just to have more stuff to do, maybe a secondary story in the post-game. Once again, I'm sorry, but it's just true, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is just that good, because it also had a post-game that actually tied in a second part of the story with tons of extra levels, which was kind of going through the same game again, but it did have new bosses at the end and tied into a new story, and there was lots of things to do to upgrade your weapons and abilities to go back through the levels with your new upgrades and stuff. It was really good, okay? It was a really good game. Yeah, hopefully there's something that we can unlock to play the game in different ways, whether it is playing as Luigi that has a completely different moveset or the way he acts, or maybe different other characters as well, or maybe some extra thing to go through all the past worlds with and something to do, or extra worlds to play, something to keep players playing long after the game, especially considering the fact that Mario games tend to be on the shorter side. And finally, I want to talk about playable characters, because I think this is something that a lot of people have problems with. Me, personally, I'm fine with just playing as Mario in a 3D Mario game or even an open world 3D Mario game. Mario is perfectly fine. But I know a lot of people want to play as other characters as well. For the 3D Mario games, it's mostly primarily only been Mario. Mario 64, only Mario. There was, like, I guess plans to have a co-op with Luigi, never happened. Super Mario Sunshine, only Mario. Mario Galaxy, only Mario. Eventually, Luigi at the end, but yeah, same with Mario Galaxy 2. Mario 3D Land gave us Mario and Luigi. Mario 3D World gave us tons of characters to work with Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Rosalina. And then Mario Odyssey, once again, was just Mario. So I think it's more along the lines of the fact that it's just Mario for these kind of open sandbox Mario games. Even Bowser's Fury was just Mario, and I would love to have the option to play as other characters with other movesets as well. I'm not talking just clones like Mario Wonder where every character plays exactly the same, but having characters with specific movesets and things that actually will change up the game with how they work. A prime example of this is Mario 64 on the DS, where there was 4 playable characters and they all were very, very different from one another. Yoshi could flutter and use his tongue, and Wario was incredibly slow, but heavy hitting. I would love to see this in the new Mario game, giving us many different characters that maybe could traverse the world at any time, where Peach could fly and maybe use her umbrella for certain things, and Luigi could jump really high and maybe be a little bit more acrobatic, and Wario can punch things and break through walls and stuff, and Yoshi could flutter jump. You know what I mean? It would be so cool. Toad would be extremely fast and light on his feet. Just different things and different ways to develop these different characters with a giant world to explore as well, outside of just Mario, would be so awesome. But honestly, there's not too much more to complain about. Mario Odyssey has done so much, and the little additions to Bowser's Fury, putting them together would make for one awesome, almost perfect Mario game. I mean, there's just a little things that they could tweak, and with those tweaks, this next Mario game could be one of the greatest games of all time. So let me know in the comments down below how excited you are for the next 3D Mario game. Are you excited for it to be open world, or maybe more sandbox style like Odyssey, or even linear like Mario 3D World? Let me know in the comments down below what you're expecting from this, and if it is open world and more in the sandbox style, what would you like to see them do different, and what would you like to see them learn from Super Mario Odyssey? Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.